Hello, welcome to another episode of the Ike and Zeke podcast. I'm Ike.
I'm Zeke.
We're very excited to have another episode for you today. It's a jam-packed episode. We got a lot to talk about in the world of WWE. The NBA playoffs are in full swing now. And then lastly, we're going to conclude and continue on in our series on the spiritual disciplines.
Nice.
So, without further ado, let's get started on WWE. Basically the Super Bowl for WWE is WrestleMania. That just concluded with its 2 nights. So it was definitely a mixed bag, I would say, in terms of the quality and just the reception in general and reaction to WrestleMania. But so we can begin first on night one. Some key takeaways that you had from night one. Just in general, in regards to WWE, its product. Perhaps you want to discuss some of the shareholders involved, but specifically 3 letters, TKO.
TKO.
But I would say that I think WrestleMania in general, I think the quality has dipped in regards to what we were expecting. And you think about WrestleMania 39, WrestleMania 40. Those are some classic WrestleManias that have happened in the past 2 years. I think they just haven't had that consistent quality in general. But let's start first in night one, and then we'll segue into night 2. So just some quick takeaways that you had from night 1 in general.
Yeah, for me, night 1 was it was interesting to say the least. I was happy to see Paige coming back and returning and everything. It was great to see her back.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to have seen AJ Lee win and everything, but
Okay.
Yeah, Becky Lynch won, and I guess that made sense and everything. Let's see, Liv Morgan beating Stephanie. I wanted Stephanie to win, but I get like Liv Morgan winning and everything. The Usos, LA Knight, and then ISO Speed. I mean, he went off. He went crazy and everything.
Yeah.
Like, he did pretty good and everything. As far as our main event goes with Cody and Randy, it was okay. I was a little underwhelmed by it, just because of like Pat McAfee's involvement with it as well too.
Mm-hmm.
It just was, it wasn't my favorite thing in the world, but I mean, it didn't surprise me that he retained and like Cody retained.
Yeah. Okay.
It didn't really surprise, because it's like you can't have him losing twice in WrestleMania.
Back-to-back WrestleManias.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that didn't really surprise me. And I guess like with Randy losing it at the end and punting and everything, that was okay in a way, but it was still like
Mm-hmm.
if it was built up. I feel like if this was built up more, and if leading up to their match, it might have been more emotional and everything, but I just really didn't feel that, just because of just how TKO sort of put this all together and all that. But overall, night 1 was just okay to me.
Yeah, you're a little nicer than me, and I guess I'll say, because I thought this, in general, I think there was one match that I feel like was worthy of being on a PLE, and that was Seth Rollins and Gunther.
Yeah.
Even Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre, that was entertaining, I'd say, but I think they could have gotten to another gear. And I honestly can't blame all the performers. Like, I don't think Liv Morgan and Stephanie McCare did bad necessarily.
No.
I think the show or the match time wasn't enough. It was like 6-7 minutes long. I don't know what you're really expecting, and I think that was just the theme of night 1, and I mean to a lesser degree night 2 in general. A lot of advertisement and things trying to fill in the times, and the show. The show was 3.5 hours or so, but there wasn't that much match time where fighting was actually happening in all of these matches. Again, I feel like the main event they overbooked with Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, with Pat McAfee's involvement. Like, it just wasn't necessary. I think the story of Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton, it's a good story. It's the the teacher is fighting the student, and now the student wants to surpass the teacher, and it's like, that's a good story in and of itself. I thought every match result from night one was the right booking decision. Like, the person that won, except for the main event.
Except for you wanted Randy to.
Yes, because I feel like his character turning heel, it just seems so devalued. Like, he turned heel and like he just lost. Like, what is the point of like him turning heel? And Cody like was saying he had to get like dig deeper into like his villainous side, to be more aggressive and ruthless because he knew Randy wouldn't like hesitate to try to beat him in any way. But like eventually it was just Pat McAfee involving himself, and Randy really wasn't like a killer until the match was over. And then he punted him, and it's like, is this like the end of the feud? Are they continuing to fight? Like, what is? I was just left with a lot of confusion, and I thought that was kind of the theme of night one in general. All right, so we talked about night one, but we can segue into, I thought, a more entertaining and just a bigger spectacle of WrestleMania, where it felt right WrestleMania to me, which was night two. And I thought we got 2 match of the year candidates on night 2.
Yeah, definitely. So, the 2 matches in my mind is definitely Brock and Oba, and then definitely CM Punk and Roman Reigns. Like, those 2 matches were insane. They were really good. I enjoyed those matches a lot, like, especially not knowing that Brock Lesnar's retiring and everything, and I felt like they did him justice more than they did John Cena justice too, actually, with his retirement. Like, as far as like, again, like, he lost to a worthy opponent in Oba Femi, I would say.
Who did John Cena lose to?
Okay, yeah, good, sure.
He's not a worthy opponent.
He was okay.
I feel like John Cena put up an actual like better fight against Gunther. Brock Lesnar and Oba Femi, that match was like less than 5 minutes.
But it was a great, entertaining 5 minutes.
No, I'm not saying it wasn't it wasn't a good thing for Oba Femi. But
I think for me, it's just like, I liked that Oba won, and I liked how it built him up as well too. Like, I feel like that's why. Again, match of the year maybe is a stretch, I'll say, but I would say like it was a entertaining match, and it was a match that I really liked, and like, okay, good. Like, you built up Oba. You gave Brock the proper send off too, so that's why I was like leaning towards that as well. I was surprised with Rhea and Jada. Like, that match was good too. I thought that was a good match as well. The Intercontinental Championship match. Now that's probably the match of the year, honestly. Match of the year. And then I really enjoyed that. Everybody killed all that. And I was okay with the outcome with that too, with Penta winning as well. Mm-hmm. And CM Punk and Roman Reigns. That match was crazy. Like, everything was like perfect. Everything from like the minute detail and all that too. So and I was happy to see, my tribal chief winning and getting the gold as well too. And again, CM Punk just showing like he is a main eventer as well too. Again, I'm loving that he's getting this love for them, despite what he did to Jeff Hardy and everything like that. But I digress. But it was still great. Night 2 was really entertaining all around.
Okay, so in regards to, you kind of touched on pretty much everything, so I'll just highlight specifically the main event. Why I feel like that was it will probably go down as one of the 10 greatest WrestleMania main events, just in terms of the match quality, because they gave him enough time. And I'm not saying this in terms of like I know everybody, we do hype the Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, the second one, because of like just the pure emotion involved, and the story seemed like perfect, and how they did it, and like all the cameos that happened. John Cena showing up, Undertaker showing up, The Rock showing up. But in terms of just pure wrestling and the story that was being told in this match between CM Punk and Roman was that CM Punk, he is too old. He can do he maxed out his body, but eventually he lost to someone who's I wouldn't say still in his prime, but like closer to his prime than CM Punk is. He's younger, faster, stronger, bigger, but CM Punk didn't give up, and like even though they had that pure hatred, you could still see that there was still a sense of respect among them. And I just thought, like, each time I thought that the match was possibly about to end, they hit another gear, and it wasn't just like a bunch of, a finisher fest, It was like, CM Punk diving through the announce table, Roman Reigns stealing his finisher, like, a lot of kickouts and just dramatic moments. So I thought it was a pretty much perfect main event, and I think with just to segue just a little bit, I don't want to belabor this point, but what they set up with Obafemi winning against Brock Lesnar, return of Bron Breakker against Seth Rollins and Gunther, I feel like there's a lot of challengers potentially for Roman Reigns, and hopefully he'll be around through the summer.
Absolutely.
Now we're going to discuss the NBA playoffs. We are kind of in the midst of the first round, but we are going to give our playoff predictions, and these were, in my case, I am sticking to what I had before these series began. Okay, so I'll begin first in the Eastern Conference. I think this is a pretty predictable, pretty normal prediction for what I feel like a lot of people and fans have thus far. I have the Boston Celtics making the NBA Finals. I think it's going to happen pretty easily.
Easily?
I don't really think anybody's going to pose too much of a threat to them. Even if the Knicks in the second round perhaps play them, I think Boston is going to be more focused this year than they were last year when the Knicks beat them. And I just think that in the conference finals, I think that the Pistons or the Cavs would just be outmatched by Boston's just chemistry. And the blessing in disguise with Jason Tatum being out for much of the season is that Jaylen Brown has ascended. And Jason Tatum, he's worked his way back through these past 2 months, and he's looking like the Jason Tatum he was before the Achilles injury. So I have Boston in the finals. In the West, I have the Denver Nuggets making the NBA Finals. And this is solely based upon how great the Nuggets offense truly is. Because I would argue that the Spurs and the Thunder especially are elite defenses. The Thunder are like one of the best defenses of the past 20 years or so, probably. And so I feel like the Nuggets, though, just pose such a unique threat because of the combination of Jokic, who I still think is the best player in the NBA, and then Jamal Murray definitely ascends in the playoffs, plays way better than he usually does in the regular season, in the postseason. And I do think the key in recent years has been Aaron Gordon. He has been able to develop a three-point shot to the point where he's essentially a knockdown three-point shooter. He's very versatile. He's their best defender. And I think they have more depth this year than they used to have. They have a lot more youth and athleticism than they used to have. Without Michael Porter Jr. now, they don't have that much of a weakness in terms of their defensive capabilities, where he was kind of just such a big, cone for lack of a better term. But I do have the Nuggets and the Celtics in the finals, and as much as I want to pull for Jokic to get his second ring, I think Boston is just, right now they look too cohesive, and I feel like Tatum and Brown as a duo are going to show why they are two of the 10 best players conservatively in the league, and they're on the same team. All right. So that's my predictions. What do you got to say?
Yeah, those are interesting predictions and everything. Yeah, for me, when as I'm looking at this first round and everything, um, I'll admit, I originally was thinking about the Knicks and everything as far as making it to the finals, but um, again, I think it's because I'm watching the Hawks, and again, the Hawks have like they're very much so under the radar and everything too, and so I'm like going back and forth between the Knicks with them, but then I also love what I'm seeing from the Cavs as well too, with James Harden going crazy, going off, doing his thing and everything. And granted, I know for you, it's like James Harden, you can't trust him and everything.
He's playing well. It's game 1, game 2. So in the first round, he is playing well. I gotta admit it.
So I mean, so that being said, I think if the Cavs have the opportunity to make it to the conference finals, I can see them pulling ahead in some ways, but at the same time, if it's the Celtics in the conference finals against them, I'm hesitant about that as well too. So for me, it's like between 3 teams. Definitely, it's the Knicks, the Celtics, and the Cavs for me. And
just
so
no respect for the Pistons.
Yeah, they're too young. They just got into this and everything, and so. With all that, I know I had to choose.
You can't have 3 picks. But
so, between these 3, I want to give... You know what? I want to give respect to the Knicks. I want to give respect to what they've been doing all season. I want to give respect to Jalen Brunson as well, too. And I'm going to have the Knicks making it to the Eastern Conference. It's not going to be easy by any means.
No.
It's not going to be easy. Depending on if they go against the Celtics and everything.
Well, they will most likely be going to the... Because they're on the same side of the bracket, so they're going to face them most likely in the second round.
Yeah, most likely. So, but if they get past them, then okay. I think,
okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna give it to the Knicks. I'm gonna give it to the Knicks. I think they can do it. They can do it. The Western Conference is another story. So. For me, it's definitely between OKC, and then I'm also the Nuggets as well too. I agree with that as far as that goes. Between those 2 teams, I would say it's Spurs with Victor Wembanyama. He's in concussion protocol right now, so we don't know what's going to happen. So it's up in the air, and so again, I don't think the Lakers. I mean, maybe they could surprise if Luka comes back and everything, but like I said, there's too many inconsistencies, whereas I feel like OKC and the Nuggets are like the most consistent teams, as you said, and even with Thunder's defense as well too. But then again, the offense with the Nuggets as well too. And so I'm a little bit torn with this because it's like, yeah, they got the Nuggets have Jokic, they have Aaron Gordon, they have Murray, they have all these different pieces, but then again, like, I think about how I sort of, like, last year was disrespecting the Thunder in different ways and all that because of, so I mean, I want to still give love to the reigning champions. Like, I want to give love to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for the first time and everything. So I'm going to have OKC making it to the finals, and then if it's OKC, and then it's
the Knicks.
I'm going to give it to OKC because I feel like the Knicks will I think they'll do everything they can to make it, but I think OKC will just be too much for them as well too. So I'm going to give it to OKC to win it all.
Okay. You're not... that's relatively sound decision making. I think because the Thunder do have a clear path to the conference finals.
Exactly.
Because they are playing right now. They are playing the Suns. They're probably gonna sweep the Suns. The 4-5 matchup right now is the Lakers and the Rockets. The Rockets are a disaster, and the Lakers right now it's just LeBron. Luka's health is questionable. Austin Reeves' health is questionable. So even if the Lakers, they're gonna beat the Rockets most likely.
Yeah.
But the Lakers are not a good matchup for the Thunder at all. The Thunder would overwhelm them And we saw it in the regular season. They overwhelmed them with their athleticism, their defense, their size,
Right.
energy, youth, all of it, their depth.
So no matter what, yeah, they're going to the conference. So
Yeah.
that's why. So that's why for me, I was because the Nuggets are having the time of their lives with the Timberwolves and everything, especially with that game too.
Yeah.
Like how that crazy. So for me, I'm thinking about how the Nuggets have a harder path there, and so for me, I'm like more than likely they might. They're gonna be tired by the conference finals. I feel I wouldn't be surprised if they are, or there'd be some more injuries happening with them.
Yeah.
And everything. So I'm also accounting for that as well too, just because I'm just like, ugh.
It's reasonable, and if they beat the Timberwolves, then the Spurs are good enough that they should beat the Blazers even without Wemby. Possibly.
But yeah, when he does,
when he comes back, most likely in the second round, that's going to be just a war.
A war, it's gonna be.
So
yeah, they're going to have a war. Wow, Thunder is just gonna be. So that's the only reason. If it was like reversed, then I would have a tougher time with it. I'd be like, oh, they could. Yeah, the Nuggets will be fine. But I think you have to look at the placement of everything.
Yeah.
As well too. So because again, it's like, how much can you really expect with LeBron and the Lakers and everything? You can expect. I think if Luka and AR don't come back in time, or I think LeBron could take them to a good 5 games. Like I could see him getting 1.
Yeah, they could still win. That's it.
I mean, he'd have to go crazy to, but I don't see them just giving OKC a harder time. But I think the East will be interesting to see as well too, like the battle between the Knicks. Yeah, if the Knicks come out, the Celtics.
That would be. I mean, if they beat the Celtics, then I think they would beat whoever. If it was the Cavs or the Pistons, I think they would beat them. And the Pistons, they are a flawed team because they have Cade Cunningham, who's a superstar, but they don't really. Like Jalen Duren was an all-star, but they don't really have a reliable second option that can create their own offense.
Right.
So the Cavs do. I will give the Cavs this. On paper, they have a lot of talent, but their weaknesses in the past couple of seasons when they've been in the postseason has been their inability to perform to expectations. They've lost to higher seeds or lower seeds before. We saw what happened last year with Halliburton and the Pacers.
Well, I mean, the Pacers, they did go to the finals.
Yeah, I think
don't act like it was a team that.
But the Pacers were not.
They could have won too if Halliburton.
Didn't the Cavs win 60 games last year?
But the Pacers were on another level last year.
Yeah, in the postseason, they played better than the Cavs.
But again,
they beat them in 5 games, too.
Okay, but again, they were a team that made it to. Who else did they beat? Who else did the Pacers?
The Pacers beat the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
The Pacers were able to go on a generational run, specifically Halliburton, because we saw him perform well in clutch situations. He hit many game winners throughout all of these types of series that he was in. Against the Bucks, he hit a game winner. Against the Cavs, he hit a game winner. Against the Knicks, he hit a game winner, and then he also had one against the Thunder. So, but my point is, the Pacers didn't even have as much talent as the Cavs do this year, but the reason they were able to perform well and advance so far to pushing the Thunder to a Game 7 in the NBA Finals was because their best players performed their best when they needed the most in clutch situations, and that's what's going to be needed. James Harden, he cannot. It's fine. I know it's not fine. Like, you might lose if he goes 3 for 20,
Mm-hmm.
But what can't happen is he goes 2 for 7, in these close games when it's a game 6 or 7 where he's just not being aggressive at all. Because Donovan Mitchell, he has been a proven playoff performer. He's actually top 8 or so in playoff scoring average, so he does show up in the postseason. But a lot of these guys, like Evan Mobley, he's known for his defense. He can't score, but he's not going to be like the 25, 30 point guy. They need James Harden to get his offensive production, and it just remains to be seen if if you believe this will be his first time doing.
We will see. We'll see what happens. All right, y'all. So last thing we're going to be talking about is service, one of the spiritual disciplines. And service is one of those things we hear about, all the time, but don't always slow down to really understand. It's more than just doing something nice for someone. It's like a posture, a mindset, and like for many, a true spiritual discipline that shapes how we move through life. And so today on Ike Zeke, we're diving into this idea of service and asking like some real questions. So Ike, my first question for you is, what does service actually look like beyond just helping people? You weren't ready for that?
You're always doing these deep questions.
Because I gotta get
thought provoking, making me think more.
You gotta think. You gotta use your mind and everything.
Beyond helping others.
Yeah.
Well, I do believe what you said is very relevant in the beginning. It's also a posture. It's a way of living. So you want to serve other people because you want to be unselfish. You want to have a heart posture where you're not always prioritizing just what you want and what you need, but you're sacrificing, sometimes your time, your energy, money, whatever it could be, for someone else, because we're taught to love our neighbors as ourselves as well. But with that, you shouldn't be doing it so you get a sense of fulfillment just for yourself. You should be serving and having that heart posture because you want to live like Jesus did. And Jesus was a servant leader. He was a person that came not just to be served, but to serve. If you give me a second, I'll read this verse right now. Matthew 20 and 28, it says, "Even as the Son of Man, Jesus, came not to be ministered unto, but to minister, and to give his life a ransom for many." So minister in this case means serve. But you see, like, Jesus was willing to sacrifice himself for other people. The whole crucifixion was him sacrificing himself for our sins, for the sins of all of humanity that happened in the past, present, and future. And he bore all of that weight and that unimaginable pain for us to have the chance at being redeemed, And so that's the heart posture of service in my eyes. Sacrifice.
Yeah. Interesting. It's about sacrifice. So I guess to dive in a little bit deeper, why do you think service is like considered a spiritual discipline, not just like a good deed?
Oh, well, I do think it requires you training yourself to be in that mode, in that mindset, like you said, of having that servant attitude, that desire to want to serve other people instead of yourself, because we realize that we were born into sin. We have a fleshly desire to always want to please ourselves, and what we want, and not prioritize what other people want, because we are taught to live by the Spirit, and so sometimes even by trying to live by the Spirit, we don't also want to live for other people as well. We just want to live for ourselves. We don't want to sacrifice what we want in order to have that attitude of lending a helping hand when we need to, or talking to a friend who might be going through something difficult when we are the one who is also going through something difficult, because we live in a world of just me, what I want, when I want, and how I want it. And being a servant requires us to train our minds to not prioritize ourselves all the time.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I guess like when we like talk about service in a spiritual sense, it's not about recognition, credit, or convenience. It's about intention. It's about like choosing to show up for others even when it's cost you your time, your comfort, your energy, and in like that process something deeper starts to shift within you as well during that time as well too. And so I was wondering if you can like share a moment where like serving someone else actually changed you more than it helped them and everything. Could you actually talk about a specific moment in time where you felt that shift with serving someone or others or in that way? Like, can you give a specific example?
Man. Can I get some time to... I'm kidding.
I mean...
I'm just joking.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I do think of myself, sometimes when I was first starting out, trying to become more of a, like, started training some kids in basketball, and I was doing it at first for just free or not as much money, and I wasn't getting paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, honestly, it served me more because, one, I was helping them better their skills, but also I was getting more connected to something that was very important to me. Like, basketball has a big part of my life, or was always a big part of my life, and so being able to give back to someone else, I also was able to get back and get that sense of enjoyment and being connected to the game that I love also. So it brought me a sense of excitement that I hadn't experienced in so many years, and it was kind of a mutual, a mutual beneficial thing.
Mutual beneficial thing. Nice. That's amazing. I'm glad you felt that and everything. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Like that excitement, and again, like maybe you wouldn't have gotten that excitement or understood your even calling to mentor kids in that way and everything had you not served and everything. Like I feel like sometimes when, I mean, God moves us in ways that we don't expect sometimes and everything in the smallest of moments and everything. Like I remember times where I served others and then I had this epiphany. I had this moment of clarity as far as, oh, this is my purpose in life, or oh, this is not even my purpose, or this is the right direction I should be going as well too. And so I think that's beautiful that, again, that excitement led to you realizing something more, and you wouldn't have known that if you were just thinking about yourself, like sometimes it takes serving others in order to really serve ourselves in that way. And so based on that, I want to ask you, how do you balance serving others without neglecting your own well-being and everything? Because I feel like sometimes that can be an imbalance, and I think that's why it's considered a discipline, because it's like it requires a certain amount of work. But I wanted to ask you personally, how do you balance serving others without neglecting Ike?
Yeah, so like the verse I just said, love yourself, love your neighbor as yourself. We're supposed to love our neighbor, but so often, I think in the past for me, I've also struggled with loving myself as much as I should, and not being as patient with myself, and always thinking my mistakes define me, and the things that I've done, which I didn't want to do perhaps, but I still did, and you develop a sense of guilt or shame and embarrassment, and sometimes it's easier to tell someone else how they should process certain things in a healthy manner and how they should heal from their past mistakes. But it takes sometimes it's not within your own power to do that. That's why it's so important to have a relationship with God where the Holy Spirit can work in you, and you can develop some of the fruits of the Spirit, like patience, where you're able to also be patient with yourself, not just with other people, but be patient with yourself and your development. because we're striving for perfection, but we all know that we're never going to be perfect. We're striving to be more like Jesus, but we're never going to be him. But that comes with patience and, developing the fruits of the Spirit within you. You become more kind, not just to others. You're kind to yourself. You're gentle to others, but you're also gentle to yourself. And I feel like the true love that you need to exemplify really doesn't come out if you're not truly loving yourself. You can't love others as well.
Mm-hmm. I hear you, man. That's what's up. My last question for you is, in what ways can service bring you closer to God on a daily basis and not just in the big moments,
What ways can it draw you closer to him on a day-to-day basis? Okay. I would say we're all striving to be more like Jesus. Okay. We know that the Trinity, Jesus, Father, Son, Holy Spirit,
Mm-hmm.
all three separate persons, but all one, And because of that, we want to be more like him. If we want to be more like him, what did I say about Jesus? He washed the disciples' feet.
Mm.
He was willing to, even as the Son of Man, the Messiah, he was willing to stoop down and wash his disciples' feet and say, like, I'm willing to serve you even in this situation, And so we can't be so high and mighty and arrogant to think that we can't serve the Savior of the world and be willing to do our mission, which is to make other people know him like we know him.
Yeah, when I think of this question, in what ways can service bring you closer to God on a daily basis? My mind immediately goes to the fact that when you're serving others, there's this like relinquishing of power in a way, relinquishing of control. And again, like there's a level of how you're no longer on this high pedestal in a way. You're sort of stooped down, as you talked about with Jesus being stooped down and everything as well. And just being at a level that you maybe aren't familiar with, or maybe that you're not used to in a way, like when you do serve someone for the first time and everything. And I think it's just amazing how in some ways God can use that. God can sort of inspire you. God can sort of move through you. And God can do so much, and then how that like moment of you serving someone else can have a ripple effect as well too towards someone else in different ways. And then because I think when you are serving others, showing
Humility.
God, you're showing humility, but you're also like just showing how God is moving through you. You're inspiring people in ways that you wouldn't if you weren't serving them and everything. So like serving others is really beautiful to me because it's another way to minister to others. It's another way to show like the true beauty of God, and showing how God is love, and God is patient, God is kind, God is all these things and everything. Because someone who's very self-serving and someone who is like doesn't understand the benefits or beauty of serving others, there's like this that's like, oh, how can I see God, or how can, I'm not saying you can't, but it's harder to see that with somebody. But again, I just love how there's like a ripple effect with just like when you serve one person, that person is inspired, and then that person can inspire others and multiple people and just multiply and more. Just that ripple effect is just so beautiful. And I just think that there's like really a discipline with it as well too, especially if you can serve others on a consistent basis, because it's just you really are just practicing humility. You're practicing just a love for others, or thinking about others before yourself and everything. Just having that balance and everything is a true discipline that deserves all the love and everything too. So just really glad we could talk about service as well, like serving others, just because I think a lot of times people don't understand sometimes how impactful and powerful it is in different ways, not just for yourself but for others, and how it's a true reflection of God's love, a true reflection of Jesus Christ as well too. So yeah, that's all I have to really say about
Service.
service. Yeah, sorry, I blanked there for a second.
Well, thanks for those words, and yeah, this has been great, and we're gonna continue on in the spiritual disciplines next time. But thank you for tuning in to this episode of the I Can Seek podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.